Hello, everybody. Dr. Jake here from Chiropractic First of Rockford on another rehab program for the lower extremity, the lower half. This is going to talk about um, positioning of the hip and what's called the posterior kinetic chain. Now, the posterior kinetic chain comes from the foot, back of the leg, through the glutes, and then crosses over mid-back to the opposite shoulder. And for a lot of us, these are weak portions in our movement and our posture. And so activating the kinetic chain, especially with the muscles around the hip, centralizes or approximates the hip joints because those muscles are also attached to the hip as well as the muscles in the front. And whatever is more hypertonic or let's say tight is going to pull that hip one direction or the other. And that's where a lot of grinding and degeneration starts occurring, especially over time and many years. So approximating that joint, because it's such a mobile joint, helps with fluidity of motion, which we've talked about a lot, as well as keeping the muscles surrounding the hip balanced and operating and coordinating in a much more fluid motion and fluid contracting at the same time, I guess you could say. So anyways, again, when I do this exercise, you're not going to see my head, unfortunately, but I want to at least show the lower half, and I'll talk you through it as we go through a couple different exercises. I'm going to start with what's called a static exercise, which means no movement, just contraction of the muscles. And then we're going to go into more of a dynamic exercise, which is with movement. And it's a little more difficult, but if you can follow along with these exercises, it will help in your everyday walking, training, running, biomechanics. So here we go. First exercise is on the wall. Now, your feet are going to be shoulder distance apart and about a foot off the wall. And your shoulders are going to be back. Your arms are going to be flat on the wall. And the exercise simply is driving that heel down into the ground. What that's going to do is once you drive that heel into the ground, you can feel everything from the calf to the hamstrings to the glutes tighten up. And that knee is going to be straight and tensed up pretty decently. So that way you have a straight line from the hip all the way to the heel. You're just going to do this for a couple seconds and then relax. It's going to be one leg at a time. I suggest doing about 5 or 6. It's not the longevity of the exercise, it's how many you do in a given day. So this could be something that you do for, let's say, 20, 30 seconds and then carry on your day and then come back to it. The more you do it, the more those muscles that don't activate on time or are delayed will start chipping in earlier and create a more fluid movement with walking or any other training that you're doing. So simply tighten up the knee, heel down into the calf or down into the ground, which is going to push that hip back into the wall. And like I said, 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then relax. Do this on one side for 5, 6 times, and then transition to the other side. Now you might have one side that's a little tougher to operate than the other, and that's usually the case. That's more than likely the weaker side, or it could be one that's compensating where you're getting pain on the other hip. So continue to practice. If you have any questions on this, feel free to contact me. My email is drjakelevere@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. The second exercise is more of a dynamic exercise, and it is a little tougher because you're going to find yourself compensating all different ways. So for this, we're going to put the legs almost together, and you're actually going to be maybe even 2 feet out. The further you are from the wall, the easier this gets. And again, arms flushed, shoulders back, and you're literally lifting up one leg. Now what this does, because of the angle, your heel is still pushing into the ground, so you're activating those muscles, but now we're working in a similar march in place style trying to gain some fluidity. And you could see little compensations that occur. What could happen is once you get that knee up, the hip could rise, your torso might bend. This is your compensation rate. Now, the slower you work on this, so make sure that when you get your leg up, try to get yourself back to even. So if you're doing this in front of a mirror, that'd be fantastic, because then you have some resources to be able to correct yourself, because what you might feel is normal isn't always the best position. It might not be total what you think reality is. It's simply distorted over time. So if we could get quicker to that new normal, the better you're going to operate in real life. So again, lift a leg, get yourself straight, fall back, do it again. If you want to challenge, then bring those feet closer to the wall and do this again. Over time, you will be able to stand up straight, balance will be better, those muscles in the posterior chain will start activating automatically, and you will see very little compensation, which will give you a very strong foundation. And this is what I say, we don't load an unstable foundation. So as you get more proficient with this, then this will incorporate into a very strong movement style, which will allow you to load and get the gains that you're looking for. So again, thank you guys. I love you. Have a wonderful day.